Hello, Josh. This video is for good character requirement for indefinitely to remain and naturalization, especially those people who has concern for their criminal record or that have issue with the good character, whether it's a fixed penalty driving offenses or a debt or didn't pay the phone bills or council disputes, for example. So there is something which is relevant for your good character and you are concerned about your ILR or naturalization British nationality application. It's important for you to watch. In this video, I'll give you a brief information what actually matter for your future ILR application or a naturalization application. So any conviction or sentence imposed inside the UK is relevant. At the same time, if any conviction or sentence imposed outside the UK, this is must be treated in the immigration guidelines as the same way while it's happening in the UK. So wherever it is happen, whether in the UK, outside the UK, this is relevant for your good character requirement. What about the other types of mostly many people, I'd say, who has the experience of penalty or warnings or caution from police or driving offenses? Does it matter? Yes, it is matters, and I'll go through it. First, let me start with the fixed penalty notices, penalty charges notices, and penalty notices for this order. Now, these notices, this penalty or fine is not imposed by the police or by the court, but there is an authorized enforcement officer, for example, for traffic rule violation, environmental, civil violation, wrong parking, yellow line, double yellow line parking. So these are the authorized officer who gave you a penalty. Does it matter? Yes, it is matter. However, receiving one, it doesn't form part of your criminal record. However, a fixed penalty notice will not normally result of refusal unless if you fail to pay or has unsuccessfully challenged the notice, or there is a continuous fixed penalty notices, wrong parking, speeding. If you simultaneously get couple of these, then this is a matter. Alternatively, if you get only one fixed penalty or offense or motor offenses or any fine, but you didn't pay it, and that result a conviction or court proceeding against you which result a conviction, then it is a matter for your good character. Caution, warning, how about this? Yes, it is a matter and it is relevant. The caseworker is under an obligation to assess any form of caution, warnings, arrest, detention by the police. Even when a person doesn't have a caution or warning, however, in the caseworker guidelines say within the last 3 years, an application may result refusal if you don't mention it in your application. I'll come this later. How about dishonesty with the HMRC, government tax authority? You are self-employed, you haven't paid, you are not declaring your true tax to the HMRC. So what? Yes, it is relevant. It is relevant, and the Home Office, the caseworker may refuse your application on the ground of dishonesty, and it is also a relevant. The most important part, what I would say about if you have experience of complete the application, there is a question: have you ever been bankrupt? And that is financially soundness. It's cover basically bankruptcy, debt, NHS debt, public fund, fraud with the public fund, non-payment of council tax. And all of this is relevant for your application. Now, an application for naturalization in case of failure to pay debt is not automatically, or generally will not refuse. However, a loan repayment had been made as agreed, either both of you party agreed or by order of the court. And if acceptable effort are being made to pay off the debt, that is the matter. That is, however, where a person deliberately and recklessly build up debt, there is no evidence of a serious intention to pay them off. In that case, the caseworker will consider you are not a person of having good character, and the Home Office can refuse your ILR or naturalization application. So be careful. If you have a debt, you are under obligation to pay it. If you intentionally or recklessly don't pay, this is a matter. NHS debt, it is very important. If NHS debt is £500, more than £500, then the Home Office can refuse your ILR or naturalization application. Fraud in relation to public fund. Now, application must not be refused simply a person is reliant on public funds. However, if the applicant knowingly claiming or knowingly or has knowingly claimed public fund which he or she is not entitled, in such case, an application for citizenship normally be refused. So if you don't have access to public fund, I think you shouldn't claim it. Non-payment of council tax. Now again, there an application will normally be refused where a person either unreasonably failed to pay, provide a false statement or a statement including failing to declare their full circumstance to avoid paying the correct rate. For example, you are staying in a property where you are individual, but you made an application or tell the council I'm a student or some student lives there. You mislead the authority and accordingly you didn't pay the council tax. So your application will be refused in that case. So this is also relevant for finance, as I said. Debt or dealing with the HMRC, dealing with the council, public fund, anything related to it. If you do intentionally, recklessly, negligently, you will be liable for this, and the consequences Home Office caseworker have authority to refuse your application. Then deception in previous application. Now, their immigration rules is there. What is part 9 immigration rules 320, but I'll go through it later. Before that, if you commit any breach, any fraud, deception with the Home Office, any previous application, or if you breach the immigration law, then the Home Office caseworker can conclude that you are not a person of having good character, and then your application may be refused. And the last part, what I would say is very important, what I'm going to tell you right now. As I said, the immigrant, many people have this issue of debtness in for financial difficulty. Sometimes people cannot pay debt, sometimes they have a council tax issue, sometimes they didn't pay HMR, sometimes their driving has a driving offenses, sometimes they have a parking ticket, penalty notice, arrested by police caution, warnings. This is, many people have this. There are people of good people, but still they have a penalty notice, maybe 4 or 5 penalty notice. Maybe they have a speeding. So many people are good, but still they have some silly, small, minor offenses. When you apply for ILR or citizenship, this is the point. What you should do? Well, as I said, based on the circumstance of the offense, based on the degree of offense, the caseworker may not refuse your application. Generally, for a penalty notice or a parking ticket, Home Office will not refuse your application. However, it is your responsibility to mention that minor offense or penalty notice or a caution or a police warning in your naturalization application. If you do not refuse, if you do not mention it, then what the Home Office say? Home Office guidelines is an application will normally be refused where there is evidence that a person has employed deception either during the citizenship application process or in previous immigration application in the previous 10 years. Now, if you do not mention it in the application of naturalization or in indefinite leave to remain application, in that case, this is a deception. And for that reason, very serious. This is a deception with the immigration authority, the Home Office. You are misleading the public authority. You fraudulently make the application. Therefore, it is your responsibility to mention it. And from my experience, I dealt one of my clients where there is around 3 or 5 penalty, driving offenses, and I mentioned it, and I explained the circumstance. He was granted citizenship. So my advice will be: if you have a minor offense, if you have a penalty notice, if you have a parking ticket, if you have a speeding ticket, if you have a debt, if you have an issue with the council tax, mention it in your naturalization application or ILR application and explain the circumstance, seek an apology, and that will give you a person of a good character, and then you establish it. If you don't mention it, then it will be problem, because the Home Office has authority and to check all the record, even though, for example, a penalty notice gave you by enforcement officer, you don't bother about it because you think this is not coming to my criminal record. Yes, it will not come to your criminal record. However, if you don't mention it and if the Home Office find it, then you will face very serious issues in future. That is, the Home Office will refuse your application on the ground of deception. So my advice will be, last piece of advice will be, if you have a minor offense, whether in the UK, outside the UK, if it is a penalty notice or a debt or caution, arrest, warning, whatever it is, mention it in your application. That will give you a good option for the caseworker to see your honesty, and then more likely the caseworker will grant your application. So this is a short video about good character. I can speak hour after hours about the good character, but very briefly, if you have an issue with your character, if you have issue of debt, you have issue of minor offenses, if you have an issue of major offenses, whether in the UK, outside the UK, whether on record or not in record, please seek legal advice from a solicitor or a barrister, and then make a decision. Thank you very much for watching my short video, and have a good night and enjoy your night. Thank you very much.